Whoo! The Chargers beat the Raiders 24-17 at home. Welcome back to another episode of Chargers Powder Hour. Colin Appel, Miles Ruka here. Boy, oh boy, do we have a ton to get into after that one. We're recording this on a Monday. We usually record on Sunday night, but we had some technical difficulties. So a little over 24 hours has passed since the Chargers defeat the Raiders 24-17. But I can't wait to get into all of it. But first, how you doing, brother?
Victory Monday, baby. No better feeling than that. Chargers back to 2-2 on the season, going into the bye. The slate is clean. We can put worries from week 1 and 2, maybe not necessarily behind us, but we've got another week. We got a week off. Good, probably mental break for us Charger fans. But yeah, man. Happy we could get back to 500. AFC West wide open right now. Whole AFC is wide open right now. We're sitting just fine. I'm doing good, man. How are you?
That's a great way to put it. I was a lot more concerned just in my head coming into this, but what a great way to sum it up in a positive light. And yes, you're totally right. Chargers are very much alive, and while there might be some ugly stuff that is going on, there is still a lot of good going on in the building, and that's evident with starting with just Justin Herbert, who I can't wait to get into today. But yeah, man, I mean, when you got a guy like Justin Herbert or Khalil Mack, anything's possible. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm ready to record. I'm excited. I have a lot to take away from yesterday, so I'm excited to get into all of it. And before we do that, real quick, what you drinking?
So for the first time on this channel, I've been on a big kick of these. This was my go-to before the Husker game this last weekend. I am drinking a Bloody Mary of all things.
Damn.
Went and got some Bloody Mary mix this weekend. Made some before the game. They came out pretty all right, and that's what I'm rocking with.
Nice, dude. I love a good Bloody Mary. I'm very very jealous of you. I haven't had one in it's been a minute. It has been a hot minute. But good, man. I like it. Going with the heavier option. Nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
I mean, quite honestly, it's more just a taste thing at this point. I just love them. It's just like it's a perfect drink for a scenario like this to just sit back and enjoy a mixer, and maybe it's more of a morning thing. I know that's more popular. We are recording this at like 8 o'clock at night, but to me, there's no bad time for a good Bloody Mary.
I'm right there with you. Now the question is, are you more of a Bloody Mary guy in the morning, or are you a mimosa guy? If you're out at brunch or breakfast, and people are ordering drinks, what do you lean towards?
I'm gonna go with the Bloody Mary. I think I like it more than a mimosa. I'm not a huge orange juice fan, actually, so I would probably stick with the Bloody Mary.
All right, that's fair. I honestly go back and forth, dude. I love both. I love both so much. I
Yeah,
think it's just honestly, it probably just comes down to mood, to vibe, probably the restaurant as well. It's like if it's one of those things where the Bloody Mary is like a sought after drink on that menu, then you
yeah.
can't screw
If it,
that up. So
bro, if it like comes with bacon or something, my
ooh,
ass is getting
all
up in
done
it.
up,
So
looking pretty.
exactly. Speaking of I did try to put salter on the rim. Um, it kind of failed a little bit, but it did. It's better than if it was just not salted at all. So
Hey, yeah, that's just a cherry on top at this point. So
exactly.
good stuff, man. I'm excited to share what I am drinking as well. I will give you a fresh little can crack here. It's been a minute.
There we go.
I am actually sipping on a local Phoenix, Arizona brewery seltzer. So it's a seltzer made by a brewery out here, Santan Brewery. Shout out Santan. Sunsplash Vodka Soda is the name of the seltzer, and it's a white peach smash flavor.
Mm.
So they're pretty good. I had them for the first time last night. My girlfriend got a new job, well, a new second job at a brewery out here, and I'll have tons of craft beer and seltzers to preview and enjoy for all of us for a long time to come.
Dude, can't wait, man. I wish I could get my hands on some of the stuff that you're able to drink. You're gonna have to send me a care package or something. But
Ooh, there you go. I can do that.
yeah, might have to get into that, man. But speaking of getting into things, let's talk about this game versus the Raiders.
God damn it, this game. This game was not a fun one to watch. I texted you. I didn't even watch the entire first quarter because I was
What a fake
freaking
ass
out.
man.
I was freaking out about the Eagles. I had a decent amount of money wagered on a couple team parlay this weekend, and the Eagles were one of them. And holy hell, was that a game to watch and experience? So, um, you know, the good thing was, like, being a Chargers fan, I was already used to all that drama and that stress in the final couple minutes, so I was well prepared for that. But yeah, that got over eventually. I turned it over to the Chargers game. We were up 7-0. Actually, I think the Raiders had just scored to make it 7-7, but pretty much was on from there. So, yeah, big win, as you mentioned at the start of the episode. And, for me, we'll get into our instant reaction here, but for me, it was just an ugly win. I mean, that's all I kept, and that's all I could think of this morning and last night when I was thinking about what my reaction was going to be on the show. And yeah, it's just ugly, man. I mean, job's done. The Chargers hang on, they prevail, but like the Chargers do, they just refuse to put a game away. They have to make it interesting. And in a game where I almost texted you and I almost made a tweet that was like, wow, a Sunday a Sunday of stress-free football. And I'm glad I didn't.
No kidding, man. I know I had the same idea. Once we got up 24-7, I was like, bro, we just got to blow them out at this point. That's all that I really care to see. But in typical Chargers fashion, that was not the case. Overall, I would say that this was a Chargers versus Raiders game at the finest. Just a lot of ugliness. Two teams that hate each other, just slugging it out, and we were able to prevail at the end. So
Yeah, that's a great way to sum it up. Tough fought AFC West divisional battle. And I gotta give shout out to a few guys here, just because we'll get into it when we talk defense and offense and break both sides of the ball down. But man, you can't even react to this game without mentioning Khalil Mack. Dude had six, not one, not two, three, four, five, 6 sacks on the day, setting a Chargers franchise record and almost tying the NFL record. Absolutely insane. Um, which, I mean, shout out Khalil Mack. What a dog! And he's now tied for the league lead in sacks. Believe it or not.
just like that. Yeah, no, there's one way to beat washed allegations, and it's doing things like he did yesterday. Something about this dude against the Raiders. I mean, if he wants to play, dude, even if he's putting up these numbers 13 years from now, if he wants to come back and play 2 games a season against the Raiders, let's do it. Because something about this dude going up against his former silver and black just enrages this guy. And I mean, we saw it firsthand yesterday. 6 sacks is incredible, man. I don't even. How do you even put that into words?
You can't. I mean, you just can't. I mean, you go back and think about some of the recent dominating defensive performances by the Chargers. Joey Bosa has a couple that come to mind. If you really want to go back as far as like Sean Phillips and Sean Merriman, I think for like a really premier talented edge rusher, I think you have to kind of go back to those days as well. So, or maybe even Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa those days. But yeah, I mean, 6 sacks is like just it's hard to even fathom. I think Joey Bosa had like a 3.5 sack game a year or two ago, and I was like, God damn, like that was a monster game. And Mac has 6 or ends up with 6. So I was just excited for him, man. Like, all storylines aside, or, just like game storylines aside, this is why you bring a guy to LA. You know, this is really one of the first. I don't say one of the first, but definitely the biggest moment for him as a Charger, which it was just so cool to see, man. Like the fact that he now like set his new career high against his former team, where he had his former career high of sacks, like pretty much erasing them out of his own history book a little bit for his own personal records and whatnot. But it was just cool to see, man. Like the city of LA deserves to see performances like that. Everyone at SoFi, that's why you show up to the game on Sunday, is to see performances like that. And if you can witness at least one of those in your lifetime as a fan, whether you're there or not, even if you're just watching it at home, um, that's what it's all about. It was just fun to see him in a Chargers uniform make history. And I mean, these are the moments why you go out and make a splash signing like that in the first place, is because of performances and moments like this.
Yeah, totally gonna write off the first 3 games of the season for Khalil, where he just felt non-existent. Dude, something about the Joey Bosa Khalil Mack tandem is so weird. Is when they're on the field together, it seems quiet. But once one of them goes down and the other one is, all the attention goes to him, that's when things really start to ramp up. And I really want to credit, again, it feels like a record. I sound like a broken record saying it, but Tuli Tuipulotu, man, just the amount of stunts
Yes.
and the amount of pressure that he's able to get to open up holes for guys like Joey and Khalil yesterday is, I mean, he like requires the attention of more than just one offensive lineman at some points, which just frees those guys up to, take over those leftovers, which we've seen time and time again already through 4 weeks this season. Yeah, I mean, something about this pass rush right now is, yeah, it's scary. Those three all together, it's frightening.
Thank God for someone like Thule, like we didn't, I mean, before this offseason, like we didn't have a guy that could step up. I mean, Chris Rumpf, you know, he's the dog, but there's levels to this, and clearly Thule has come in at a higher level in the league, and it's shown already in the first 3 or 4 games of the year. Like there's plenty of tape of him already just messing up the opposing run game or just wreaking havoc on a quarterback. So it's really refreshing. It's awesome when your team hits on a guy like that isn't in the first round, because it makes that much more exciting and surprising. Like when you hit on a third or fourth round guy that just comes in and looks like an all pro. I mean, that's dope. So yeah, like really, really proud of this defense. We talked in the pregame episode and we had a couple, I mean, we were close to a couple bold predictions. And we were, pretty much nailed some of our keys to victory. I think one of us, said turnovers. I think it was me that brought up how turnovers. They need to create more of them. They need to give this offense more opportunities. And boy, did they do that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but a couple of fumbles, an INT to seal the game at the end by Asante. There's one interception off my bold prediction there, but
And I was
I'll
one
take.
and I was one defensive touchdown off my bold prediction. So if that pick happens in the third quarter, that's
Dude, if you
99
just take
yards to the
that,
house. I know,
I know.
man.
I'll
So
settle for
close.
a game ceiling pick versus two. Like, okay, whatever. It's
Yeah.
I'll take that. But yeah. So I mean, we said it, and we knew what it was going to take to win a game like this, and they came out and they did exactly that, and they forced lots of pressure on a rookie quarterback in his first start. They got turnovers, they got stops when they needed it, and all around it was a very good defensive performance, and one that I think it could have even been better, but still just a solid performance all around. Shout out to everyone included, from Staley on down to the special teamers.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those, like, in order to get this defense going again for the rest of the season, this was a game that we really needed them to show up. Just against a piss poor offense of the Raiders. This was just a game, especially against the starting rookie fourth rounder. Like, this was a game that the defense should have showed up in, and they did just that. The constant pressure, strip sacks, fumble, even our rush defense. I mean, Josh Jacobs broke off a few 10, 12 yarders here and there. But I mean, at the end of the day, he only had 3.9 yards per carry. So I've seen a lot of improvement, especially looking back to where we were at week 1 with this unit. And, I'm hoping that this is just another defensive performance that's going to be able to ramp up and they're going to build off of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, you hope that they're finding their stride, and they look to kind of be doing that. It's gotten a little bit better every week. This is probably the biggest stride they've taken from week to week so far this season, and it's good. The bye weeks here gives some guys a chance to rest up and get back out there for the think about it. It's an extra long bye week because it's a bye week going into a Monday night game, so they get a little bit of extra time than they normally would. To prepare for the Cowboys and to heal some guys up, and hopefully this defense can ramp it up coming out of it as well. So yeah, all around just great performance by them, and my instant reaction really on the offensive side of the ball was just Justin Herbert, man. What a stud. Like, we're gonna talk about Mack on the defense, and we got to talk about Herbert with the offense, because he's the reason that we're here. I mean, if we're being honest, like, everything runs through him. We're only going to go as far as he's going to take us, and I think it's pretty fitting how the game ended. I mean, that's really like all you need to see is just, all right, here's your franchise guy, go win it, go make a play to seal the game, and not just a small dump off pass that goes for 8 or 9 yards to get the first. No, drops back and just calls game. Throws a 50-yard bomb to Josh Palmer on the money. Perfect ball. And Chargers sealed the deal. So it was just a fitting way for that game to end, especially with kind of how it went there in the second half. And, Justin Herbert was just honestly fucking sick of it. He's like, y'all broke my finger and I'm pissed off and I want to go home and watch Monty Python.
Yeah, shout out to the movie quote, man. Gotta love our QB1 for that. Dude, yeah. Really, I think the second that Jerry Tillery made contact with Justin Herbert out of bounds, it was written in stone that, he's not gonna be the reason we lose this game, for sure. So yeah, 3rd and 4 to wrap up the game at the end. Fuck it. We want 50. So, he was able to do it, man. Just an absolute stud. Overall, though, especially in the second half, offense really didn't seem to be clicking too much. I'm sure we'll get into it later, but man, I think we're missing Mike Williams a lot more than I thought we actually would. I was expecting somebody to really step up this week. Didn't happen this week, but I hope somebody's able to going forward.
Yeah, and actually, now's a perfect time to get into it. We'll actually start on the defensive side of things. So we'll come back to the offense, but and yeah, just to respond to what you just said there too, they are definitely missing Mike Williams, and yeah, that's something to keep an eye on going forward to see who or how many people can step up. But yeah, moving on to the defensive side of things, I got the numbers pulled up now. Chargers giving up a total of 264 yards, easily their best performance of the season when it comes to yards. They allowed 188 in the air and 76 on the ground. So, as you mentioned, a solid rushing defense performance. I think you said they limited Jacobs to 3.9 a carry, which is a win for this defense, especially against someone like Josh Jacobs, the rushing champ from last season. So, and 188 in the air looks really good on paper. My one issue with that number is how much of it came in the second half, and it really felt like it was a weird game because this defense definitely like pretty much dominated most of, if not the entire game. But it definitely, I mean, you got to give credit to Aiden O'Connell. It definitely looked like he got a little bit more comfortable in the pocket as the game progressed, and he really seemed to be kind of sliding and making those throws to his playmakers. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow when he needed to, and at the end of the day, they really were 3 yards away from making this a really interesting fucking game. So you got to give credit to that offense for making the adjustments. They made the adjustments they needed to in the second half, and the Chargers offense wasn't able to do that. So, but yeah, I mean, that's other than that, like, the Chargers had 4 penalties for 34 yards. So it definitely seems to be like some of those penalties come at just absolutely terrible timing. But 4 for 34 isn't bad.
No, definitely not too bad. That Raiders offense really was kind of able to move the ball once Devontae Adams was able to return to the game. You could definitely see the confidence Aiden O'Connell had in him. But yeah, another week of bend don't break defense. Back-to-back weeks of interceptions in the red zone, let alone pretty much at the goal line to win the game, and back-to-back weeks for this defense. So really, just stepping up when it matters seems to be a reoccurring theme for this unit. There was a decent amount of third and longs that I still want to see us be able to get off the field for. Like you mentioned, the dumb penalties, that body slam that Asante Samuel Jr. had, just stuff like that. It's just all mental. I understand, especially with how chippy that game was yesterday after the Tillery hit. We saw some guys like Divine Diablo, who, by the way, might have the sickest name in all of football, was able to just like absolutely level Darius Davis on that one punt return. Just a really, really emotional game, especially against a rival like the Raiders, an AFC West divisional rival. So I just think, some of our guys, maybe the emotions got a little bit of the best of them, especially Asante on that play. But, overall, 34 yards and penalties. It's nothing crazy. But like you mentioned, it does seem to always find us at a really bad time.
Yeah, that's kind of been a theme over the first couple games of the season. And it's another thing that, going into the bye week, you hope they can address and be a little bit more disciplined coming out of the bye. And honestly, got to give them another shout out for this defense. Only really letting the Raiders. Well, I mean, the Raiders only went 2 for 5 in the red zone, and one of them was for sure a touchdown. I want to say the other was a field goal. Yeah. I can't remember exactly though, but that sounds right.
That sounds good.
And so yeah, I mean that's a good definition right there. Bend don't break is they're still giving up some yards, but when it gets to that part of the field, that's where they really kind of buckle down. And look, I'm kind of old school when it comes for me when it comes to defense. Like I'll let teams kick field goals all day long, and gladly, like you go for it. If you want to kick 5 field goals, I can score 2 touchdowns and still get you. So, that's perfectly fine with me, and I think they've done a really good job. Obviously, last week, it won them the game late in the game, and this week too. Asante Samuel sealing the deal at the end there.
Yeah, shout out Zont for that play. Just read it beautifully, and really showed kind of a rookie QB on that rep for sure. Was able that we were able to get it done though. But yeah, I really just think you can't really say much about this defense for this game other than Khalil Mack, man. I mean, we already talked about it, 6 sacks on the day. But I do want to give another shout out as well to Kenneth Murray, who's really been stringing together quite a few solid weeks now in a row. One of my predictions this season was I wanted Kenneth Murray to really break out this year, which, I mean, he has been very subpar up to this point in his NFL career. And yeah, we've seen, I mean, there was one play he just absolutely blew up Josh Jacobs and was able to get rush on O'Connell, force a bad throw. I really just love the reps we've been seeing from him on the field. He was one of the higher PFF graded players on our defense this week, again, for I want to say like the 3rd week in a row. So love what Kenneth Murray has been bringing to the table. Didn't really think that we'd be saying that, but he seems to be a different player with that green dot on his helmet. He just seems so much more calm, cool, and collected, and he gets his assignments down, and he seems to put himself in a good position to make plays. So love what we've seen so far through 4 weeks.
Yeah, man, he deserves his flowers. I mean, as rough as we've been on him, and pretty much this entire fan base has, I think we forget sometimes, like, dude was a 1st-round pick, and so you have to believe, like, I mean, the dog is in there somewhere, the talent's there. It's just when you trade up to take another pick in the 1st round in the same draft where you've already drafted Justin Herbert in the first round, just a few picks earlier, um, you see something. This organization saw something in him, and you know, maybe it's one of those. We could be looking at another Trey Pipkins. I think that's a perfect example for someone like Kenneth Murray, who's kind of been on that slow trajectory to start their career. But these guys are professionals. They're putting in their 10,000 hours. They're perfecting their craft, and it's awesome to see it pay off for someone like Kenneth Murray, who has had his fair share of trials and tribulations so far in the league. Just with injuries, just his performance in general, and it's awesome. I mean, I even noticed there was a couple plays downfield where the camera wasn't like, I mean, it was all big plays for the Raiders. So of course, you just see guys kind of flying in from out of the out of the camera, and he was one of those guys that just always seemed. I mean, even if it was a big play, and there was other guys in the area, like he's coming in to finish plays, and he's flying in, and he's flying around back there.
Yeah, totally, dude. It seems like everywhere the ball is, Nine's not too far behind. So I've just loved his sense of being a kind of a ball hawk back there at linebacker. Vision has improved a lot. And I mean, the hustle's never really been a question for Kenneth Murray. That dude just flies around the field. And, this season he's putting himself in the good position, unlike we've seen in the past. So shout out to Nine.
Shout out to Nine for sure. And thanks for bringing him up, because he definitely deserves his flowers. I'm trying to think of any. I mean, Sante Samuel Jr. obviously had kind of an up and down game yesterday, but came through when it mattered most. And we'll have to we'll have to talk about his decision to go down at the end there, because it definitely, I think, gave Charger fans like, I don't know, like PTSD of like Marlon McCree. I mean, maybe not to that level of Marlon McCree, but like it definitely was just, it seemed like even when we get a big play, there's always a like
Dude,
it's what
at least run out to like the 30 or something, not the
yeah.
10.
It's JC Jackson coming out to the 5, against Miami, and getting tackled. It's Derwin James all the way back in like 2018, picking off Goff in the end
Yeah,
zone in LA, and coming out like the 2
we're
or
good at
3.
that. We're really good at getting interceptions and going down just a few feet outside of the end zone. That is one of these defensive specialties.
Yeah,
So definitely want to see one of those get housed, or at least taken back,
dude, it
20,
had
30 more
to.
yards.
I haven't seen the all 22 angle of that play, but just from the broadcast angle, like he definitely would have had to like at least make one offensive lineman miss. But the angle that he had, the speed that he was going to get up to,
He's
um,
out. He's outie.
I think so too. I think the one play they have there is like, maybe the first 5 or 10 feet after he picks it off. But if he can beat that guy to the edge, which I definitely know he can, he was gone.
And my prediction would have hit if that was the case. Probably should have told Asante that before the game, just so he would have got my back there. But nonetheless, man, defense did not break at the end. They bent, that's for sure. We got the dub. So
Yeah, they did enough to win the game. They did win the game in a lot of different ways for the Chargers. I mean, obviously, so did Justin Herbert, but without this defensive performance in the second half, I mean, in the first half too, really the whole game, like, the Raiders were able to score 10 unanswered, large part due to the fact that this offense just ceased to exist for a quarter and a half, which is awesome. But yeah, the defense stepped up when they needed to. They made the plays, and yeah, lots of love for them this week.
for sure, man.
Alrighty, man. Well, let's flip it over to the other side of the ball. We got to talk about the offense, and just like we mentioned at the start of the show, I think we got to start with number 10. Justin Herbert. Not only did he have, I mean, the stat line for him is, I mean, it looks a little funny, but I think it's one of those games where you have to kind of read between the lines and really just watch the tape. Tape doesn't lie, and this offense didn't really get it going in the second half, but they made just enough plays when they needed to. And we got to talk about the hand. This is a major development, not only for Justin Herbert, but just for the Chargers season. It doesn't seem to be a very serious issue, but it is something that could linger, and that we could find ourselves continuing to kind of bring up and mention throughout the season. That it looks nasty. The broadcast never really showed a great angle of it, and I think that's maybe on purpose, because it did look. I mean, I've seen some stills and some screenshots from a couple different angles of the broadcast, and it definitely looks like it's fucked up.
It's fucked up, that's for sure. Thank God it's his left hand though. That was really
Yeah.
my first takeaway was it's the left hand. I mean, that obviously makes you feel a lot better. Definitely something to keep an eye on though. Really the only things I really see it affecting is maybe handoffs, and then obviously under center and ball security in the pocket are definitely going to be two things to definitely look out for once we get back out onto the field in week 6. But with a whole week off now, and like you said, extended by an extra day with the Monday night game, I'm sure I'm not too worried about it. It's not like it's broken ribs like we've seen in the past. It's something on a hand, on probably honestly his most unused part of his body, maybe at playing QB. Maybe not necessarily, but maybe the least important part of his body. One of the least important parts of his body being his opposite hand while playing QB. But I mean, other than ball security and taking snaps under center, I don't really expect too much of a change in his style of play. And a lot can change in 2 weeks, which is the next time that we take the field. So definitely something to keep an eye on, but I'm not overly concerned about it.
Yeah, I agree, and I guess where my mind went to initially too is it gives him extra time to fit, just to kind of prepare with that hand. Like they had to do what they could yesterday, kind of in a flash, and when he came back out after he was in the tent for a few minutes, the memes on Twitter started flooding in. It looked like he was flipping us off, which was awesome. It looked like just like a mummy Frankenstein hand situation. And I think the broadcasters had some fun with it too. So it definitely gives them time to figure out what the best method, or what the most comfortable method, and most efficient method of either taping it or wrapping it up. We'll see if in that time frame, if it heals enough to where maybe he doesn't need to wear a full splint on it, and that could be a big, um, that could go a long ways in that decision. So, yeah, that's, to me, like, that's what I kind of thought of, is that, hey, at least they have some extra time and a couple extra days here to really kind of like work with Justin and see what is going to be the best, most comfortable for him, because I think it's probably going to be something we'll deal with for most of the season, which kind of sucks. But again, I don't think it's serious enough to really, be like a season killer or anything like that by any means.
Dude, I would love to go back to our preseason episode where I think you and I both stated how much we hated the week 5 bye, and totally just eat those words because it really couldn't have come at a better time already this soon in the season.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a lot of guys back. I think a lot of guys were really close to being able to play this week, and most of those guys, especially those that were doubtful or questionable this week and couldn't go, a lot of those guys are going to be back 2 weeks from now, Monday night against the Cowboys. So perfect timing for this bye, especially for our Lord and Savior Justin Herbert, to be able to heal that finger a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good thing this didn't happen on Monday night in a couple weeks, where it's like, fuck.
Yeah, there goes that. We don't have a bye anymore. Like shit.
Yeah. So, yeah, and with Justin, I mean, we'll obviously that's going to be probably the forefront all of our news over the next couple of weeks. So we'll be sure to definitely monitor that and keep an eye on that. But staying on this offense, Justin looked great as always, especially when he needed to the most. But really looking at this offense as a whole yesterday, man, what a roller coaster of a day. I mean, definitely for sure a tale of two halves for this offense. And, it was great in the first half. They were rolling. They were getting more opportunities because of that defense, forcing turnovers, and they were making the most of it. They had 14 of the 24 off of turnovers. So they cashed in when it came to that, which was awesome to see. But man, did this offense just not do shit in the second half. And I think it's important to timestamp when Justin got hurt because it came on the play of his interception. And I can actually let me go back and find it here.
Yeah, so it came on his interception, and then clearly the offense after that just did not look the same. The interception came with 2:52 left in the play clock in the third quarter, 2:11 left
Yep,
in the third quarter.
211.
So
There it
basically,
is.
from there on out, fourth quarter just didn't quite look the same. We had the one drive that was a punt. Max Crosby got the sack on some poor field position. And then, the very next drive, we had that another opportunity on 4th and 1 to end the game. Now, 2 weeks in a row that we have failed to convert such 4th and 1 to basically end the game. But, this time again, I didn't hate the decision to go for it. But Justin Herbert, QB sneak, as bad as I wanted it last week, this week, just a drive, 2 drives after he essentially broke his left middle finger, putting the balls in
Yep.
his hand under center in a situation like that. Didn't love that play call, but again, bailed out by a defensive interception in or at the goal line. And yeah, that was essentially the game. And then obviously the last great offensive play, the final 3rd and 4, ball game over, 49 yards down the field to Joshua Palmer for the win. So, Justin didn't look great on the 2 drives after suffering the finger injury, but, just had to end it with, a little bit of a, it's all right, guys, I'm fine, by just throwing an absolute dime piece to Josh Palmer down the sideline to really win the game and just to show all of Raiders fans how big that man's nuts are.
Massive. But going back to what you said about the 4th-and-1 call, I would have punted it this week. I really would have. And honestly, going forward, if that's the play call that you're going to come up with, just fucking punt the ball.
Okay.
Like,
this
just
week
do it.
This week was one of those scenarios that either way, in my mind, it's like we're either going to win the game here or we're going to put it back in our defense's hands. And honestly, I was rooting for Khalil to get 7, so I went to minded. I went to minded putting it back.
One more.
I went to minded putting it back into our defense's hands with the long field. I had a lot of faith against the 4th round rookie QB that they would have been able to get it done in that kind of situation. But at the same time, I didn't hate going for it. Just, the play calls just haven't been there.
Yeah, man. And even, take the hand out of it. Even with a healthy 2 hands, 10 fingers for Justin Herbert, I still think that play call can just go screw right off. Like, come on, Kellen Moore. You have to tell me there has to be something a little more creative in your playbook to get 1 yard. Like, I know you have a 6'6" quarterback, and I know that's going to be the popular answer. It's just sneak it, just sneak it. And, to Staley's point, Staley has a hell of a point. In the presser, he's like, I know it's a yard or it's only a few inches, but they need to make that damn play. Like that's on Kellen Moore. That is 100% on Kellen Moore. And that's 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row we've gone to it. 2 weeks in a row we haven't been able to pick it up. And I'm telling you, if that's the play call that you're going to pick on 4th-and-1, like I don't even want to see it. Punt the damn ball and make this defense work a little harder. Like, it's 2 weeks in a row now. Yeah, their goal or red zone defense has won them the game essentially 2 weeks in a row now. But I don't even think it has to come down to that. Who's to say punting it? You never know what's going to happen. You can punt it, and you might chalk that up as a loss in the moment of like, oh, should we have gone for it? Should we have punted it? Okay, we punted it, but then you never know what's going to happen on those ensuing 2 or 3 plays because that could be the game right there. And the game winning turnover can actually for sure seal the game because it's not a guy coming out of the end zone and going down to the 10, but it's a strip sack fumble on their 25. And that's the difference. Still, I mean, 100%, 110% believe in that defense to close out the game there, but it's just at some point, if you keep putting that much pressure on them, like they are going to let you down at some point.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't want to see this become a reoccurring theme going forward, as the last 2 weeks have shown. If anything, I just want to be able to be creative enough to get those 4th and 1s. And I think when Austin Eckler comes back, I think that's going to help out so much. Not even just the fact of getting him the ball necessarily, but just the fact that that's a weapon that can easily get 1 yard that the defense has to respect in that kind of situation.
Here's the thing: like, can we get Austin Eckler taking some snaps under center? Dude, they could run the most effective tush push with Eckler. Like, you think Jalen Hurts squats a lot? Like, what does Austin Eckler squat? Like,
I
you
wouldn't
can't
hate
tell
it.
me as small as he is, he can't fit into that tiny little crack, and those legs are gonna churn. He might get 6 on 4th and 1. Like, he really might.
He really could. I mean, it's definitely something to look at. I don't know if I'd take the 6'6" size over. I'd probably take the 6'6" size over the 5'10" size, but yeah, strength wise, I mean, who knows what he can do? That'd be something to maybe invest in.
Like, I mean, why not? It's just something I honestly just thought of it on the spot here, but I want to see that. That might be. I might add that to my bold predictions for the season. We will
I'm
see at
thinking,
least one snap, Austin Eckler under center for a 4th and 1, a short yardage situation.
let's get
Direct
Khalil
snap.
Mack, but dude, fuck it, let's get Khalil Mack back there. Let's see, let's just get like the biggest, strongest, most biggest, like the just let's hire some free agent like bodybuilder or something and get him in there. Like, I don't think that we could fuck up a 4th and 1 in that sense.
I don't know. We still might find a way to do it. It is. I mean, I feel like historically, I have nothing. I mean, nothing to pull from, but I just feel like watching this team for the last close to 20 seasons, like I feel like we've had terrible history and luck with those 4th and shorts or just 4th and inches, short yardage
or
to goal
or or opposing
situations.
or opposing 4th and longs. Like, just 4th downs in general are just not a good down for Chargers fans to see themselves in, whether it's offensively or defensively.
I feel like our odds go up the longer it is on 4th. Going back to the Raiders game a few years ago at the end of the season, like it just feels like 4th and 12 will get it done. It just feels like we're gonna get it done, but 4th and 1's like fuck.
I think really, dude, any 4th down with number 10 under center has you feeling like somewhat like there's a chance.
Right, which is why I mean, going back to the play call, like if you really want to like have your best player go win it for you, like just don't even like just take the sneak out of it. Just put it in his hands. Come up with a creative play call to get someone open in the flat and pick up a yard. Like that.
I mean, I think Twitter would go ape shit if we called a pass play on 4th and 1, but personally, we're putting it in our best player's hands to get the job done. And clearly, with how mobile he was in the pocket yesterday, to say he can't just go run for 1 yard is not crazy whatsoever.
Or like, dude, I really thought we would see more RPOs with Kellen Moore's offense. Like, I dream of a world where Herbert is in the perfect RPO marriage of like a passing and RPO offense. I mean that's the world I want to live in.
That's your utopia.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that'd be fair. I mean, I would love to see stuff like that, man. It's just, man, yesterday, getting back to it, I feel like we really felt the loss of Mike Williams yesterday. Herbert's worst game through the air so far this year. But
Yep.
I just think somebody's got to step up. We're all hoping that Quentin's the guy to step up. And to be quite fair, yesterday, he didn't see a ton of opportunities. That sideline, that throw to the sideline for him, like Mike Williams making that play. There's no doubt in my
Yeah.
mind. Just that little back shoulder where it's timed up perfectly. I just think it's going to take some time to get their chemistry together. I saw a similar stat about Josh Palmer receiving yards in his first 4 games, Mike Williams receiving yards in his first 4 games, and Quentin Johnston's receiving yards in the first 4 games and catches for all of them. And they were all like the exact same stat line. So, this is an offense that it doesn't feel like receivers ever really come in and click right away. It takes some time. And, I'm hoping that that'll be the case for QJ.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's weird that is the case. But that just kind of seems to be the trend over the last few guys that have come into this receiving room. And I just want to go out and say, I don't know if anyone else feels this way about Josh Palmer, but I love Josh Palmer.
I
Like,
love Josh Palmer too.
can we make him like the next like just fan favorite that sticks around for like 6 years on cheap deals? Like, can he be the next like Malcolm Floyd for this organization? Like, I would love that. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be really a solid number 2, but he is a solid number 3 receiver in this league. Like, I mean, I just love him, man. He's great.
Colin loves Josh Palmer, everyone.
I was
He's got,
actually thinking, I had this thought. I'm like, should I get a Josh Palmer jersey? Like, that'd be
dude,
a clean jersey, number 5. And I feel like he's the perfect. He's turning into this perfect Chargers player of like, he'll be that guy in like 6, 7 years, maybe 10 years if he's still here for a minute, where you have his jersey and someone's gonna be like a true Charger fan's gonna look at you at a game and be like, bro, like,
yeah, that goes.
respect.
For sure. No, yeah. I mean, maybe wait until he signs his next deal just to make sure that, he makes it through his rookie deal. I mean, all signs are pointing to the fact he will as of now. But yeah, Josh Palmer's been a really good. I mean, definitely
Yeah.
yesterday we saw him step up. Herbert missed another throw to him deep on the sideline earlier in the game, just underthrew it a little bit, got punched out of Josh's hands. But he's able to beat guys one-on-one on the outside pretty often. Again, it was against the Raiders, so it's not like they boast the best covers or corners in the league, excuse me. But it does seem like he's really good off that first step and is able to get a step or two on most guys out there on the perimeter.
Dude, yeah, the organization seems to love him. Everything I've heard from Charger fans that are also volunteer fans say he's great. He's always been a great kid. He's got swag. If you see his pregame fits,
Oh yeah,
bro's got some fucking swag. Which, I mean, that drip is worth something. So you gotta admire that. But yeah, man, like it's and it's awesome for someone like him to come in to a room that has. I mean, he's gotten to be with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen every day of his career. So I think that's dope, and it's definitely paying off because you're seeing him make improvements year over year. And I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cool what he said after the game. When they called the play in the huddle and he knew it was coming to him, he told the guys in the huddle, he's like, "Hey, meet me down there. Like, meet me down there to
I didn't see
celebrate." I
that.
was like,
I didn't see that, so that's awesome.
yeah, I was like, damn, that's fucking sick. Like, he knew the ball was coming to him, and he was like, "Yo, just make sure you meet me down there." I'm like,
Bro,
damn.
that last play was just so cold, bro. Like it was such a fuck you, man. I mean, Herbert didn't even have to put the left middle finger up in order to say fuck you on that play, man. That was just the ultimate sign of, man, we want this motherfucker over with. 50 yards down your throat, it's game. So awesome play, man. And I do want to say more reinforcements to the receiver room coming soon. Jalen Guyton will be able to return after the bye. So, Jalen Guyton probably not on our, top 10 favorite Chargers list of all time necessarily, but is a guy who definitely has established a connection with Herbert and who can stretch the field and beat some corners. So
Sure.
I'm pretty excited for Jalen Guyton to be able to come back. I think it's really going to be able to stretch the field for us in the passing game.
Yeah, anytime you can add speed to an offense, like I'll never go again. I was watching that Bills and Dolphins game in the early window, and Dolphins finally showed that they are not, perfect, and they're definitely beatable. And I think the Chargers can definitely beat that team. And I think they should have beat that team. But just watching that speed on that offense is just like it's so
It's
frustrating to
crazy.
watch if you're rooting against them, which I find myself doing constantly. So it's just like you have to admire it, but it's like son
I
of a
can't
bitch, bro.
I can't not love Mike McDaniels though, man. He is just such a perfect personality for the NFL. He's just funny and he's one hell of a coach. But I mean,
He is.
that's neither here nor there right now, man. I'm excited for Guyton to get back. Not to mention, dude, I've really loved the way they're using Darius Davis in this offense. You know, we saw him get
Yeah.
that 51-yard run yesterday.
Got called
Just
back.
able
Or no,
to
he had another one that got called back, right? With the
yeah, he had
holding.
another big play as well. But dude, he's quick. He is a fast dude, and he's really kind of coming out as our gadget guy right now, kind of like a DeAndre Carter type of guy for this offense. But I would like to think that he's got a lot more intangibles than DeAndre Carter had. So I've really loved what they've been able to see. Obviously, they know his speed is something that is pretty uncommon in the NFL. And they're using that to their full advantage just by putting him in so many different positions to be able to get him the ball and just say, take off.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really impressed with Darius Davis's touches yesterday. He had that one big play that got called back, but it's really going to be interesting to see how Guyton's appearance or entrance to this offense changes it. Like is he going to take away some snaps and some balls from other guys, or so that'll be kind of something to keep an eye on. But ultimately, yeah, I'm excited to have him back just because of, like you said, the speed threat that he brings. How he's able to stretch opposing defenses, and it's another guy you have to worry about just over the top. So hopefully, Kellen Moore's got a great role in mind for him, so he can come in and take some more pressure off Justin Herbert.
If anyone in the Chargers front office is listening to this, though, please bring back Tyron Johnson. Just feels like the
T-Billy.
perfect signing right now. We need T Belly back, man.
No, as long as Staley's here, that'll never happen.
I know, man, but a man can dream, eh?
I know, but speed is coming. It is almost here. With Jalen Guyton's coming back from the injury list. So, takeaways. Any big takeaways that you wanted to throw in here before we get out of here? I know I think my biggest one for me was just monitoring the injuries like throughout the entire week. So we do the injury report obviously before the game, but I think it's important to kind of mention like the like the casualties lost during the game. Donald Parham Jr. going down in the back of the end zone. I watched the replay. He just basically was falling on his butt and put his hands down to kind of catch him, and that can end up bad sometimes.
Bro, that dude's either catching passes in the end zone or getting injured in the end zone. Those are the only two things that he does in there.
Yeah, and I texted you. I was like, that looked at best, that looked like a sprained wrist, like, but probably more of so like fracture is kind
I
of
did
where.
see, I believe Popper today, Staley did not want to disclose the timetable or what his injury is, which I feel like that cannot be a good sign. So, yeah, I would expect to be without Parham for at least a few weeks, probably going forward, if not longer. But we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, Donald Parham Jr. So I mean, we'll see. It doesn't look good. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for a significant amount of time, but fingers crossed. It might not be as bad as it looked, but it did not look great. So other injuries, obviously the big one, Justin Herbert. So we will continue to monitor that. And my takeaway from that really was just like, it's small things like that can ultimately have like bigger impacts later on. And I hope that's not the case. I hope this is just something that throughout the bye week they can really get a good grip on. But it's definitely something to at least keep an eye on going forward.
Yeah, totally. As of right now, it's nothing that I'm overly concerned about, as mentioned earlier. But any kind of little injury to your franchise guy is always something to keep an eye on. So
Right. And other than that, on offense, I mean, every offensive lineman played 100% of the snaps. So, there at times, I think Trey Pipkins maybe got shaken up a little bit. during the
There
game,
was
but
there was once or twice he got up a little bit slow, but
yeah,
he was able
but
to
he
get right
finished
back
the
out
game.
there. Yeah.
So yeah, offensively, I think that's it. Defensively, um, I got to really
I don't
think
nobody
back.
comes to mind. I don't
No one
think we
comes to
lost
mind. Yeah,
anyone. I don't think we lost anyone defensively yesterday. So
that's a
that's
win.
good. That is a win. So
Yeah,
until half of them pop up on the injury report still this week, which is
right.
how it seems to go. So
That is how it's been the first couple weeks. Like, oh, cool, we made it through with like only 1 or 2 guys going down, and then it's like 6 guys show up on the injury report a
new
couple days
Chargers
later.
fans just get used to it. This is just what we deal with. So
But yeah, so I just wanted to. I mean, that was one of my takeaways. Just kind of keeping an eye on the injuries throughout the games as well. And really just the biggest one for me is, hey, they're 2-2. They're five. They're back to 500. And you said something at the beginning of the episode of like all the like the slate is clean at least kind of for now. The week 1 and 2, you can't totally forget about it because you have 2 big games coming up, and those 2 games that you lost could still weigh heavily. But you can at least kind of forget about it for a week or two, and it goes on the back burner for now. But yeah, scrappy performance, and this team needs all the confidence, all the momentum in the world. So it was great.
yeah, going forward, man, we have to get at least one out of the Cowboys or the Chiefs going forward. Going to 2-4 would really hurt. 3-3 is definitely survivable. So
Yep.
hopefully we can get it done against the Chiefs, preferably over the Cowboys, due to fuck the Chiefs and the fact they're in our division. But yeah, at this point, 2-2 heading into the bye. A lot of top AFC dogs have been struggling. You look at like teams like the Bengals, Jaguars have gotten off to a pretty slow start. There's a few other teams I want to throw in there, like I don't know. There's a few of them though. I'm trying to think of other AFC teams that have gotten off to a pretty slow start. Bengals are really the main one that comes to my mind right now.
Yeah.
But our schedule, Jets come to mind. Our schedule is definitely a absolute roller coaster of mostly very, very tough games. But I think we've seen enough improvements week to week that I'm decently confident that we can still put together something special going forward.
Oh yeah, yeah. And look, we are due for a fucking Chiefs win at some point. Like with the with what we've been put through the last like 2 or 3 games, it's coming. We're getting one this year, so maybe we just do it the hard way and get one in Arrowhead. But it's a heck of an opportunity to get one here in a couple weeks against the Chiefs. So I mean, if you watched that game last night, we can beat those fuckers.
Chiefs are very beatable. It feels like football right now is it's very wide open. This thing's anyone's game so far, especially in the AFC. So
Yeah, 100%, man. So that does it for me. I think I've said what I've needed to say, and yeah, looking forward to it. Finally, I can officially legit say this will be a stress. Well, no, I can't even fucking say that. I'm probably
no,
gonna be
because
making some bets.
you're a bet boy. Yeah, this
Damn.
kid
At
moved
least
to
from the Chargers
Arizona.
aspect, it's gonna be a stress-free Sunday. So a good mental break is, I think, what you called it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Needed right now. Our injury list is an absolute scroll. So got to get some of those boys back and healthy, and then Monday night, 2 weeks from this very second, against the Cowboys. So
Nice. 'Tis but a scratch, a flesh wound.
fresh wound.
All right, man. Let's
Shout
get
out our
out of
king.
here. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Chargers Powder Hour. This has been episode number 88. Colin and Miles recapping the Chargers win over the Raiders. Follow us on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Powder Hour Pod LA for all the latest news and updates about the podcast. And of course, our bolts. And as always, bolt the F up.
FTR.